Good evening. Of course, I'm very tired. I haven't slept like 2 nights, and I'm very busy, both with art and science. I still haven't finished the most important project, which is the alternative current Nero accelerator. But I do not like put all my effort on it on purpose. I mean, as like by design, like with purpose, because I want to to advance in several parallel directions. Um, So I want to speak about several important things, actually much more important than the issue of the gates. First, I will say something that I said many times in the past, but reiterate it now. One of the most difficult things for me as part of my journey to understand my surroundings, because I live in the darkness, everyone, hiding the truth from me. One of the hardest thing is to actually, place events or occurrences in the correct time. When if I understand that something happened, either by divination or a kind of like prophecy, or by using all sorts of like rational skeptic like argument and all, and these things are always combined. It's very difficult to actually place what happened in time. And and it's happened, and it was always like that. During the 4 years that I'm in this journey, because that I understand the things happen, but I don't understand if they are going to happen in the future, if they happened in the distant past, or in the maybe the close past, but before I was born, or maybe they're happening right now. And this is very difficult, and it's actually something that is known since antiquity. That it's one of the hurdles that you commonly face when you deal with divinations. And it is especially difficult because here in Israel people don't change. They just they keep doing the same thing. So many times actually several answers are correct. I understand that something happened, but it happened to me without my knowledge. It's also going to happen to me in the future. It's also happened in the past to someone, to one of my predecessors. So it's very difficult to place things, and that is the main reason that many basic things I still don't know, or I misjudge when they happened, or in what's the relation to the current situation. I theorized that actually this is not the second episode in this counting only those that took place in modern Israel, but maybe it's actually the third one. But I cannot really, I couldn't really tell. It was obvious to me that there was a big scandal, international scandal, and like a prophet, and that it culminated during the end of the 70s and beginning of the 80s. But I speculated that there were actually many episodes, including a very important one in the 60s, early 60s. So in Israel, so you hear the sirens of the police. It's like that all the time. Like I live in hell. Anyway, and it's supposed to be a very relatively high society, relatively high socioeconomic background in this neighborhood in Rishon LeZion. But it's very difficult to actually speak about the things that happened in the 60s. I've done it in the past, but it's so difficult. But this is not only history. It's it's very important to my life now, and to my understanding of where I am in this world. Regarding Titan females, I spoke about them yesterday, and I want to add a little bit of background and conclusions. They will not be. It's not going to be nice, but already know that I'm very pessimistic with regards to the female Titans. It's not new. So I'll explain a little bit more, how I see their essence. They have a long history, and they live longer than humans. I don't know how long exactly. Potentially not as long as I can live if people will not try to murder me, but they potentially live a long time. Look, listen, it's obvious, and I've talked about it many times that, I mean, there was already like a very important exodus of of the female titans in Israel, in a way that they were freed from the slavery in Israel, and many of them, I mean, some of them at least went like to abroad, and many stayed here. And I spoke about it at length, and in many in different contexts. And I understand that much of like my mosaic like prophecies are actually reenactment of one or two of my predecessors here in modern Israel. It's clear to me. And although I spoke about it many times in the past, that I feel very angry, I mean, and like disappointed on both the female titans in Israel and possibly a little bit that actually live in the United States. And I hypothesize that there aren't many because the USA didn't actually want them in. I mean, they probably got several, but not much, because they were racist, and they felt like during the 80s. My hypothesis, I'm not sure about it, it's not important, but my hypothesis is that they felt hurt because the shitholes in Israel actually used the Titan females against them to spy on them, which is, of course, unbelievably disgusting, but that's the way Israel was and still is. I mean, if you can think about unbelievably disgusting things, most probably did it. So this is one of the reasons why the United States probably didn't want many Titan females to actually become citizens there. But I mean, probably there are several, and I felt disappointment that they don't care about me, and when they care about me, the female Titans in Israel and the ones like in the United States or maybe other rich countries, it's always in the context of let's test him. He's like the little prince. Let's test the little prince. Let's test. And it's hell, and it's never ended. Now, I've said before, and it's not the time to elaborate on it, that it's typical for female titans in Israel to pretend that they are sexually very liberal, like down to fuck, and they had many partners, and they like sex, and they're very open to it, and like some like really say like plainly, as in a way that is very atypical to almost any kind of Homo sapiens woman. They actually say things like, I'm like the mattress of, I don't know, the class or the school or the job, or like the workplace, and use and it's happened to me several times in a way that was very, very peculiar, because anyone that knows women, know that they, even if they are the mattress of the class of the or the faculty or the workplace, they will never use this word and actually say it in that way. It doesn't happen this way. I mean, even like, let's put it bluntly, even sluts don't say I'm a slut. I mean, maybe if she's drunk and she speaks to her girlfriend, like a friend, like a woman friend, but it's not the way actually that even the most down to fuck women actually seduce men. And I spoke about that in the past, that these women actually, they have no sexual experience, at least not in the closed past, that they don't do any kind of sex with anyone. And it's something that I understood, at some point in my life. I didn't really understand the reason, and I still don't understand everything that happened. I do know that, they were punished for their crimes, because the Titan female were also punished. And they are actually, like their male counterparts in the intelligence community, they are in kind of a asexual, state. The males are typically are in this state because, of medicine, that they, if not all of them, of course, but it's very common, as you know, pedophiles are common in the intelligence services, and maybe some of it is actually punishment, but never. I don't want to make it too broad, this video, so let's focus a little bit and say, like, I'll just articulate the most important fact from my point of view is that these women, they are always in a show, and their ego surrounds not around like self-fulfillment and sexual fulfillment and family and love, but around let's manipulate somebody. Let's, I mean, be manipulative and let's control other people. Like, I mean, which is typical to Israelis and especially to people in the Israeli intelligence community. But I cannot, I mean, it's so disgusting. It's so disgusting. Although it should be said that many of them are actually much older than they seem. For example, for example, I said I mentioned Sivan Kriegsman, that supposedly was 1 year younger than I am, but he was actually older, and I understood it. And also, I would say something that I didn't say, but I mean, it's the correct place to say that many of them, including her, actually lost children, and this was part of their punishment of their horrible sins. And also, it should be said that I am not the one to blame for your children. I mean, if you have issues with God, speak to God. I mean, should I be blamed for things that happened probably before I was even born? And no matter how much I excel in my work, I mean, it's my destiny to be fired and to be poor and to be humiliated, and then to actually, I mean, remember people like Sivan, I mean, with great like empathy, because she was so great that she actually did not murder me as many people in the Shabak actually advised her to do and gave her actually the tools. So she was so great. I mean, really, I mean, she was like a righteousness among the nations. I mean, she should really have a tree in Yad Vashem because she's so righteous. I mean, I don't. If some people actually now wonder if I'm like cynical or not. I can tell you that I myself don't know. I don't know. This world is so crazy. I mean, if it was a normal world, so of course it was cynical to say that. I mean, no, she's not righteous for not murdering an innocent person. But I understand that this world is so fucked up, and especially Israel, and especially the intelligence community, that maybe in their standards, if like she got like a command to murder me and she actually preferred not to do it, maybe she is righteous enough to have like a tree planted with their name, plaque on their name, like in Yad Vashem. I don't know. But in any case, my preference in women and people in general for the future is that if I cannot find men or women that, I mean, I hold to higher standards than just not murdering me, I rather just be alone. Listen, I am not the one to blame of all the punishments that you received. Of course, I justify God because, I mean, I understand that both, like, I mean, because it's like the way it should be, and also that I understand in general terms that you were all, I mean, genocidal fuckers, and you still are. And although it should be mentioned that from a very, very, actually, even before, I mean, I started my journey during 2019. Even earlier than that, I had all sort of like, I mean, visions and like, I mean, divinations regarding a planet that is ruled by a woman, and that, I mean, and it's totally fucked up, and they I mean, they murder their male children, and sometimes they just, I mean, cut their dicks and I mean, raise them as slaves from day one, and just keep like, I mean, fertile only the alpha males, and they're also their slaves. So it's something that, I mean, was in the back of my head. I mean, I didn't understand that it's Venus, and even until this day, I'm not 100% certain that it's Venus, because I haven't been there. So how can I tell? I mean, and I always fed misinformation. So maybe it's not even Venus. So I mean, but I've spoken about that. I mean, that why, I mean, the reasons in favor of Venus, but it doesn't really matter, because, I mean, the actual, I mean, transportation is not by like conventional means of transportation, so it shouldn't really matter all that much. But until I'm there, how can I tell you what it is? I mean, everybody's lying to me. So it's probably Venus, and they probably I mean, they murdered the males because they are fucked up. And the fact that many of them, I mean, were actually very young when they came to Earth, it probably didn't really help much to actually create like decent women from them, because they grew up with the fuckers of the intelligence community. So disgusting people, I mean, הלך הזרזיר אצל העורב, I mean, as they say, I mean, the scumbags went to be a friend of with another scumbag. Did they change? Because this was all through during the 80s, I mean, and it was already after like an episode of punishment and corrections. No, they did not change at all. Until this day, they torture me, and this is true both for men and women in the intelligence community, both for Titans and Homo sapiens. Until this day, they only want like to get everything that they can for me physically, like I mean, and I mean to actually, I mean, you know, rob my semen from the trash and take everything from me, take my daughters from me, paint me in a horrible way. All my life I was painted in a most horrible way, and people that had little intelligence and open mind knew that it was all a lie. But they prefer to believe it because, I mean, why not? And it also justified the way that they treated me like a scumbag and a person that, I mean, you can take everything that you want from him and never owe him anything. Because supposedly he's like a pedophile or I don't know what was in those movies that, of course, were, I mean, fake. But, I mean, why not believe it when we have the material advantage that, I mean, is adjacent to this kind of belief, false belief. I don't know if actually right now there are any Titans outside of Israel. How can I say? I don't know what's really what goes on outside of Israel. It's very difficult to say that because we're dealing with hidden things that are, I mean, that are kept, I mean, is a secret in the international intelligence community, and I'm not part of the intelligence community, so I have no knowledge besides divinations and rationalizations and reevaluation things that happened to me during my life. But I don't even know. And there is a good chance that romantically I have a very, very serious issue because I can't trust Homo sapiens women, and my experience with Titans female was ultimately very bad, and I don't see any of them like getting any better, at least in Israel. But how can I say that? I mean, I don't believe that it's different abroad because either they don't exist abroad or possibly they are all those scumbags. And the fact is that they don't help me. And the other important fact is that I live right now in a Nazi prison, tortured by disgusting human being. I don't see anyone actually come here to help me. I mean, of course, they move their arms and tongues, but yeah, it's not enough. So, I mean, all those stories about the ultimate Casanova that is like all sort of like, I mean, sexual prowess and he can like choose from so many women. Of course, it's all bullshit, and I understood it, I mean, many years ago that it's bullshit because I cannot really have, I mean, actually, the situation is that if I have a sexual relationship with any woman, the Shabak will use it against me for certain because they already did several times. And you use it against me, I mean, to frame me with rape and all sort of things that, I mean, will be held against me if in the future I will resist their own attempts of rape, which was part of my life. I mean, that they do it. And if they can do something horrible, they will do it. There is no question about it. And although it should be added that, I mean, even if they don't do it, and they will do it, still, I don't have any interest in any kind of relationship with a woman that actually have a chip in the brain and gets command from prostitutes or pedophile operators. No, thank you. I've had enough. And I should say again that I'm not a whore and I'm not a client of a whore. Nor do I want to be in the future. So all this is very, I mean, pessimistic, but I explain where I stand. Titan females, they are creatures that God used all their life to lie and to just represent reality in skewed way, and they don't even know what's. I mean, they don't understand even the reality of their own selves. They treat sexuality like, I mean, people in the intelligence community treat everything, which is a way to, as a leverage to, I mean, to get more power and influence and to manipulate other people. And this is disgusting. It's not uncommon, even outside the intelligence community, but it's disgusting. And I really prefer to have, I mean, people, I mean, around me, that people around me in the future will be people that I actually like can give them some merit, or I mean that I can say positive things about them, that they are smart, that they are good, that they are ethical, that they are interesting. I mean, it's in the last couple of years. I mean, I just got used to the fact that, I mean, the best things that I can say about people around me, like in the best situation, is that, I mean, they didn't try to murder me, or I mean, they tried only once, and after that they stopped, or things like that. And I mean, and I mean, it's sad because it's very low bar, and I want, I mean, if I can't raise the bar, I mean, I prefer just being alone with my daughters. I wanted to speak about art, but it's not that important. I'm having more electrolysis, and I'm like upping the way that, I mean, like I put more effort on experimentation that will actually create gates, but other things as well. Regarding the curses, there is always the question of what country to blame, and I've spoken about it for so long, so I don't know if it's a good like time or even a good idea to repeat. But I will say that, I mean, ultimately it's you against the world, because Israel is, no matter how bad it is, there is always the question of why nobody helped me get out of this trash can. And if there is no place that actually want to help me to get out of here, I mean, so I mean, where will I go? I mean, I have a problem with the world, because the world sees me as a foreigner, and they treat foreigners, the Homo sapiens treated foreigners since forever, which means cook them if you can, and stay away if you can't. Earth is the island of Polyphemus, the Cyclop from the Odyssey.